I want to welcome everyone to the Pacific Mountain Buddhist Action to Feed the Hungry for 2021. This is our first online gathering of the year, and we are delighted to have you all join us. We'll be hearing from a number of Dharma leaders and also have some videos and presentations for you. Now for a few housekeeping issues, you are all muted on entry because this is a large event. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and we will try to answer you as needed, okay? Our host, Ayadama Deepa, has been practicing Buddhism since 1987. She's a fully ordained bhikkhuni in the Theravada tradition and a Dharma transmitted teacher in the Suzuki Roshi lineage of Soto Zen. Her shift to the Theravada tradition is a natural extension of her longtime metta practice and her study of the suttas. In addition to English, Ayas teaches in Spanish, an expression of her Latin heritage. Her work has also appeared in the national Buddhist publications such as Lion's Roar and Buddha Dharma magazine. Her forthcoming book is titled Gifts Greater Than the Ocean. We now will have Ayadama Deepa speaking to us for a few minutes.
Thank you for that introduction, Carla. Thank you. And for the warm welcome to everyone. I want to echo that warm welcome to everyone that's here for our Buddhist action to feed the hungry. There we go.
Can everyone please mute if they are not needing to speak? We would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah. That's okay. So, as I was saying, we're here for the Buddhist Action to Feed the Hungry for the Pacific and Mountain regions, just as Carla said. And this is one of two national online events that we are doing hosted by Buddhist Global Relief. And the work of Buddhist Global Relief is to eliminate hunger around the world. And it's not just about meeting this quite urgent, immediate need, but it's also about enabling thousands of folks to shift from lives that are focused on survival and the despair that comes with the illnesses that hunger brings, but to shift, to enable them to shift to lives that can actually, in which they can pursue greater fulfillment and greater participation in the global community. So we provide emergency COVID response. We've done some of that over the past year and a half during the pandemic, but we also do things like fund food for kids, boys and girls in Haiti, not just to fill their bellies, but also so that they can learn, they can graduate from school, they can feel well and healthy. And we fund programs that teach sewing to women in some of the poorest regions in India. And we do that not just so that they can begin to earn a little bit of money, but also so that they can feel their own sense of competence and participation in their communities. And we don't do this work alone. We do this work in community. And that's what our gathering here today is about, is to see the faces and the places of the various communities that are involved in doing this beautiful, compassionate work. So I have the honor and the request to meet of introducing our organizing and participating Sanghas today. And I just want to say that the folks, Carla will be introducing many of these folks who are speaking today in a little bit more detail. So I won't give the full biographies for some folks, but I do want to mention our participating Sanghas and their representatives here in particular. First And then, as I said, we'll go on. I'll mention the organizing sanghas, but you'll hear more about them in a little while. But starting in alphabetical order, so we have Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery. And I believe that Ayananda Bodhi is here representing Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery. So could we please spotlight Aya? Okay, good to see you. Yes. So we have Aya was someone who in Wales encountered Buddhism in her teens and was moved to take up this path. She trained for many years at Amaravati and at Chidhurst in England as a nun in the forest tradition. And then she came to the United States to co-found Aloka Vihara. And she is a fully ordained bhikkhuni since 2011. And she is there with the community of Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery. Beautiful to see you all there. Wonderful. Thank you for participating. And then we have Berkeley Buddhist Temple. We have Reverend Kuwahara Sensei from Berkeley Buddhist Temple. There we go. Yes. Very good to see you. Reverend Kuwahara. He is joining us on behalf of Berkeley Buddhist Temple. And again, he'll be introduced a little bit later during his part of the program. He is one of the organizing sanghas. And Berkeley Zen Center, so we have Reverend Hozan Al-Sanaki from Berkeley Zen Center, also one of the organizing sanghas. Welcome. Welcome, yes. Abbot Hozan will be introduced in a little bit more detail later, again, by Carla. And Dasanaya Buddhist Community is a community that I have recently co-founded here in Alexandria, Virginia. And I guess there will be more to say about that as time goes on. It's a new endeavor, and I'm grateful to be gathering together some community support here in Alexandria. And then we have Yvonne Tseng from Four Noble Truths. Let's see if we spotlight Yvonne.
I think, yeah, I'm not able to spot myself.
You cannot spot yourself. Okay, so Yvonne is, she has the name Buddhist Global Relief there on her little tile there, her image. And she is also, she's doing what she loves to do, which is to offer her services to the Dhamma. So Four Noble Truths is the participating Sangha that Yvonne represents. It's a nonprofit organization based out of Southern California, where she lives with her husband, Terrence. And their mission is to make meditation retreats and Dharma books available free of charge. So they have been working particularly in Myanmar and parts of Sri Lanka. So thank you, Yvonne, for joining. She says that she spends most of her time learning and sharing Dhamma and aspires to be a diligent practitioner and a qualified Dhammadutta. Lovely. And we have Venerable Lexia Somo representing Jamyang Foundation and Sakadita International Association of Buddhist Women.
Yes. I am not able to find the tile, the image tile.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So we'll find Venerable Lexia a little bit later before her time to speak, I hope. And I also want to mention Reverend Kinray. Reverend Kinray is also here. I saw his title somewhere, Kinray, from Berkeley Buddhist Priory, also a participating Sangha. Yes, welcome. Welcome, Reverend Kinry. Very good to see you. Thank you for joining us, for supporting this endeavor here. And then we have Reverend Dr. Ryoe Tyler, Ryoe Sensei. Welcome. Very lovely to see you. She's representing Kongo-san E Genji. And that name of her temple means Vajra Mountain Wisdom Source Temple there in Sacramento, California. And Reverend Tyler Sensei is the chair of the International Division of Tendai Shu. So Tendai Buddhism is the form of Buddhism, the tradition that her temple represents. Tendai Shu Hawaii Betsuin is the particular division that she's the chair of the international aspect of. She has a degree in pure mathematics from University of California. She was ordained at Enryakuji. And she has a teaching certificate and title of Grand Ajari and Chief Overseas Missionary for Tendai Shu. So very lovely to see you, Ryoe Sensei. Welcome. And thank you also for your support, your participation here today. And Shravasti Abbey, we have Venerable Tupten children here as well. Venerable, very, very lovely to see you today. And she is going to be giving a Dharma reflection later, so we'll have Carla give a more detailed introduction. So those are our participating Sanghas for today. And again, I really want to emphasize how important these relationships are and this support that each of you brings to the work that we're doing for Buddhist Global Relief. And now I have the pleasure, the honor of introducing the chair of Buddhist Global Relief, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi. Welcome. He is going to be our host, in a sense, from BGR, and he will be followed by Kim Behan, our executive director, who will be giving us some information about BGR and the work that BGR does. And then we'll hear from our speakers and learn something about the various projects that BGR is supporting. But just to introduce Venerable Bhikku Bodhi, as I said, he's the chair of Buddhist Global Relief. He's an American Buddhist monk, originally from New York City. He has a PhD, a BA and a PhD from in philosophy. And he received his novice ordination in Sri Lanka in Theravada Buddhism in 1972 and his full ordination in 1973. He's formerly the editor and president of the Buddhist Publication Society there in Sri Lanka. And he returned to the US in 2002 and resides at Tuanyin, beautiful Tuanyin Monastery in upstate New York. He's the president of the Buddhist Association of the United States there and a esteemed and prolific translator of the Pali Canon. So, thank you,
okay.
Bhante.
Okay, so thank you, Aya Dhammadippa, for that introduction. And let me extend welcome to all of our esteemed speakers and teachers who are participating in this event, to all of the board members and staff members of Buddhist Global Relief, to some of our project partners who will be participating in our this gathering today, and also to all of you, our donors and other people who will just maybe looking in out of curiosity. So I extend all of you a warm welcome. And I just want to explain a little bit about how these online national action to feed the hungry programs came about. Back in, I think it was the year 2010, we came up with the idea for a fundraising event when we had just started Buddhist Global Relief, just 2 years after we started. We came up with the idea of holding a walk to feed the hungry. And so we started with one walk in a park in West Orange, New Jersey. The next year, some of our friends Buddhist friends in Michigan and California who had heard about this walk came up with the idea of holding walks in those locations. That was 2011. By 2012, Buddhist groups around the USA and other locations also wanted to participate by holding walks in their geographical regions. So from about 2012 on, we were regularly having about 10 walks in the United States, and some of our partner organizations in other countries were also holding solidarity walks. So this continued right up until the year 2020. That was last year when the COVID pandemic spread throughout the country. It made the walk impossible. And so we decided to have online events. And we decided to launch those events from a number of cities and centers around the United States. I think we had 5 online events, all packed into the month of October, maybe one in November. But that turned out to be rather a heavy burden on our small staff to have to conduct an online event virtually every weekend within that period. So this year we decided to consolidate the 5 or 6 online events that we were having into 2 events. One brings together, at least in principle, the West Coast and mountain states, and that is the gathering that we're having today. And then on October 30th, we'll have another gathering which brings together the eastern states, southern states, and the Midwest. And so in this way, we're having these 2 national events with, on the whole, different speakers, different representatives. And so you get quite a wide variety of approaches to the Dharma and different perspectives on our projects. Okay, and now I want to introduce our executive director, who has been, I would say, virtually the live wire of Buddhist Global Relief through the years. The way she came to be involved with Buddhist Global Relief, just in the year 2008, we were just starting to have the initial discussions for starting a Buddhist social service organization. And I had met Kim 2 years earlier. She came to one of our retreats at the other monastery where I was living in New Jersey. And I hadn't heard from her for 2 years. But then she wrote to me telling me that she would be coming to the East Coast, to the New York area, just at the same time that we were starting our initial discussion. And she told me that she was interested in applying Buddhist principles in social service. So I invited her to come to our initial meeting, and she originally became a member of the, maybe was it a member of the projects committee. But then in 2009, after our first year of activities, we realized we needed an executive director. And she had been working in the telecommunications industry. And then she decided, when she heard that we needed an executive director, to retire from her professional career and take on the role of executive director for Buddhist Global Relief. And it's really, I think, through her great compassion, enthusiasm, skill in dealing with people all around the world from so many different cultures and backgrounds, that Buddhist Global Relief has grown to be the organization that it is today. So I'm very happy to, and she had always been in the past very shy about showing a public face, always wanting to hide in the background. But through the years, I've always been pushing her and saying, you have to come out and show your face in public. And so now that we're going online, now she can't hide anymore behind the screen, but has to show herself in public. So Kim, now it's up to you.
Ms. Kim, the
Yeah, you'll
camera.
have to.
Kim, you're still muted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi, for your kind introduction. Thank you. Thank you, Venerable and Dharma friends, for joining us today. And welcome to our West Coast event. I'm very honored for the opportunity to share the work of Buddhist Global Relief over the past 12 years. So at this point, let me go ahead and bring up the presentation. So Yvonne, I'm going to be sharing the screen. Okay, so do you see the presentation? Let me bring up the presentation in slide.
Yes, we see it. You can start the slideshow.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So let me basically share briefly the BGR history. In the fall of 2007, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi wrote an essay for the Buddha Dharma magazine, in which he challenged Buddhists to face the immense suffering in the world. And a number of his students felt very inspired by the message and discussed the formation of a nonprofit organization. And in May of 2008, Buddhist Global Relief was born to give a helping hand to those afflicted by hunger and malnutrition. In his essay, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi stressed the need for us as Buddhists to be the voice of conscience for those who cannot stand up and speak for themselves. According to the World Food Program, hunger is the #1 health risk, impacting almost 900 million people in the world. And with the pandemic situation, the situation is becoming much more difficult. The Buddha in the Anguttara Nikaya praises the value of giving. In giving food, one gives 5 things to the recipient: life, beauty, happiness, strength, and mental clarity. So to address the problem of hunger, Buddhist Global Relief provide food assistance to those afflicted by hunger and malnutrition. And in parallel with food assistance, we also promote the education of children, especially girls, so essential in the fight against poverty. We also give women livelihood skills so they can support their families. And we train small-scale farmers in sustainable farming and food production. Being a small organization with a small staff, BGR work in partnership with relief organizations already operating on the ground in the countries we serve. A few of our partners are large, but most are small, grassroots, locally based organizations. To give you an idea of how we implement our mission, I would like to share a few projects in each area of our mission. We're starting out with food assistance. In Haiti, soon after the earthquake of 2010, we partnered with Wadi Foundation to provide hot meals to hundreds of children in Port-au-Prince. And for many of these children, this is their only meal of the day. In the Chittagong Hills Tract, a poor and remote area of Bangladesh, we partner with Jem Yang Foundation to provide school lunches for 130 students at the Visakha Girls' School. Many of these students have to walk for miles over hilly terrain to get to the school. So this lunch program is truly essential for their nutrition and learning at school. In the area of education in Nicaragua, we partner with the North Country Mission of Hope, a Christian organization, to provide scholarship for 120 girls by providing them with uniforms, shoes, backpacks, and school supplies for the new school year. And with our longtime trusted partner in 2009, we partner with Lotus Outreach to support young women's education. As you can see in the photo, basically there are bags of rice, in front of the women. In Cambodia, girls are expected to stay home and work for the family. So to help with the situation, Buddhist Global Relief provide monthly rice support to the girls' families so they are allowed to remain in school. Many girls that we support have finished high school and even move on to college. In the area of women's livelihood, we partner with Sangha in Sri Lanka to provide 75 young women from low-income families to receive an education, a technical education so they can earn an income upon graduation. And in Cameroon, we help widows and single mothers with vocational training, skills that allow them to enter the force quickly, such as sewing, tailoring, and beautician skills. And because of the success of the program in 2019, we also funded the expansion of the vocational training centers so more women can be trained. And lastly, in the area of sustainable food production, our project with BGR in Kenya trains women farmers in the cultivation of short duration cash crops to increase their income levels. And right here in the US, we partner with Keep Going Detroit to promote access to healthy foods by teaching Detroit residents skills in gardening using empty lots in the city. So as you can see from this map, our projects have truly a global range extending from Mongolia, Cambodia, to India and Sri Lanka, to the countries of Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, which you will hear later in the program, Uganda, countries of South and Central America, Brazil, Peru, Nicaragua, Haiti, and right here in the US. So for a complete description of our projects, please visit our website. As Bhante has mentioned before, for the past 10 years, our main fundraising activity has been the annual Walk to Feed the Hungry. And in 2010, we started with a single walk in New Jersey, and the number of walk has grown over the years until 2019. We had 10 to 12 walks around the US. Also with beneficiary walks, with children walking in villages in India and Uganda to support the mission of Buddhist Global Relief. These walks have been very, very popular and brought together Buddhists of all traditions in the joyful act of compassion to help the people in need. So in 2020, in response to the COVID pandemic, Buddhist Global Relief launched our Buddhist Action to Feed the Hungry. And these are basically a series of online events which offers the opportunity to connect with our Dharma friends while raising funds to assist those in need. So we now come to the financial portion of our work. This chart shows our contributed support for the past 12 years. As you can see, BGR maintained our steady growth of revenue since our inception in 2008. In 2009, our revenue totaled around 70,000. And in 2021, for the first time, our revenue exceeded the $1 million mark. Despite that, you see in 2019 was due to an accounting of a large 3-year pledge that need to be recognized in a single year in 2019. And this is the chart of our supported programs. As you can see, the trajectory follows very, very closely our contribute support. The bars represent the funding amount, and the blue lines represents the number of projects funded. So in 2009, we started with 3 small projects in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Vietnam for the funding level of around 12,000. And today, this past spring, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi and the board have approved over 50 projects for the funding level of over $1 million for the first time. And this is our revenue by source pie chart, which shows that most of our contributions come from individuals, around 96%, which include events as well as donated securities, and 4% from foundation and trust. And this is our expense by category pie chart. At Buddhist Global Relief, we are deeply, deeply committed to serve and uplift people that are most in need. And to that end, we use our resources as efficiently as possible. As you can see from the chart, 93% of each dollar goes directly to programs, with 5% allocated to fundraising and 2% to administration. Our 2021 financials are still under audit and should be completed in a few months. And I would like to share that at this past summer, we received the good news that BGR was granted the Gold Star Transparency rating from Guide Star. At Buddhist Global Relief, we practice tolerance. We do not proselytize. Instead, we seek to work in harmony with people of all faiths to alleviate poverty. And these are the core values we uphold at Buddhist Global Relief. One of the most important aspects of our work is our very close collaboration with our partners to understand the need of those that we serve. We are also accountable to our donors by using the funds entrusted to us effectively, efficiently, and with utmost care. And at the personal level, the past 12 years have been truly an amazing journey of faith and compassion under the most excellent guidance of our teacher, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi, and the board. And for myself, each day of work for Buddhist Global Relief is a day of practice of compassion for those in need, and a day of inner work to sustain our outer work. The vows of Samantabhadra touch over us very, very deeply as we aspire at Buddhist Global Relief to be a good doctor for those who suffer from illness, a guide for those who have gone astray, a lamp for those who dwell in darkness, and a source of treasure for those in poverty and need. As you can see from the presentation, none of this work would have been possible without our communities of donors, volunteers, and Dharma friends. And we are deeply, deeply grateful for your contributions and hope you will continue to support the mission of Buddhist Global Relief as we grow into the future. So thank you so much. And we hope you will join us at future events of Buddhist Global Relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla, I would just like to add one thing before we move on to the next part of the day, if you don't mind, which is that I realized that I didn't get an opportunity to introduce one of our organizing Sanghas, and those are the monastics and the community of Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So I just want to also say a warm welcome to Reverend Jin Chuan, Reverend Jin Wei, and all of the community there. They're one of our organizing Sanghas, and you'll hear more about them in a bit when we get to their part of the presentation, but I just wanted to highlight them as well.
That's great. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, and thank you, Kim, for that wonderful presentation, the
Thank you,
explanation
Carla.
of our work and our history. Our next speaker, Bhikkhuni Thupten Chodron, is an American Buddhist nun and the founder and abbess of Shravasti Abbey, a Buddhist monastery in Newport, Washington state. She was ordained in 1977 and has authored many books on Buddhist philosophy and meditation, She is currently assisting His Holiness the Dalai Lama with the writing and publication of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion, a multi-volume series on the stages of the Buddhist path. I look forward to hearing now from Venerable Children.
Oh. Okay, so thank you, Carla, and thank you to everybody at BGF for organizing things. I remember some years ago, His Holiness the Dalai Lama saying that the Christians have so many organizations and reach out to help so many people, but we Buddhists just sit on our cushions and work towards nirvana. And he didn't find that very satisfactory, especially because it doesn't really correspond with the whole Buddhist value of compassion, and that, seeing others as like ourselves, cherishing others as much as we cherish ourselves, doing away with this incredible self-centered thought. So we talk a lot about it. We sit on our cushions a lot about it, but we don't do anything. So I was really pleased when I heard about Buddhist Global Relief forming, because this was really a step going in the right direction. Not only because it was reaching out to others, but because it drew from so many Buddhists from different traditions. So rather than just being one tradition or one monastery doing their own thing, it really brought everybody together. And so for me, it's quite something to sit here and see the other presenters, most of whom I don't know, even though we're all Buddhists together. So I hope to get to know all of you. I was also very excited by not only the Buddhist Global Relief making, really defining that its purpose is to do something about hunger. But I was even more excited when they started working to include girls' education. Because as we know, and if you've lived in a third world country for any time, I've lived in India and other places, if the money goes to the mothers, the money gets used for the family. And for the mothers to have the confidence to run the household like that, they need an education when they're girls. Very often in the families, if the fathers, if they earn the money, then they go out and spend it on alcohol. I saw that a lot in India. And as a result, the whole family suffers. When you educate the girls and they grow up to be women and they are confident and they work themselves because they have an education and they know how to manage the money because they've been taught that, then the whole family really benefits. And that's, like somebody said earlier, we're not just trying to fill people's bellies, we're trying to lift them out of poverty and give them a vision of what their lives can be that maybe they've never had before. So I think this is just really, really wonderful work that's going on. I don't really know what more to say. I think all the speakers have, various points to highlight. So I will pass it over.
Thank you so much, Venerable Children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are now to hear from Venerable Karma Lekchi Tsomo. I do not see her here. If she's here, could Venerable Karma Lekchi, could you please speak up? Otherwise, we will move on. Okay.
Yeah.
Something must have occurred to prevent her attendance right now. So we will move on now to a real treat that we have in store. Actually, it's a video from one of our partners. Shraddha charity organization in Sri Lanka. They have been distributing nutritious food packages to the families of impoverished pregnant women there during the pandemic. I believe Kim will be showing this video for us. And they did a video for us in our earlier online retreat earlier this year, and we enjoyed it very much. So they have done a new one for us. So I'm hoping that we all enjoy this one just as much. So it will be Kim now, I believe.
Thank you, Carla. I'm setting up the video right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, let me know if you can see it well, Carla.
Excellent.
Another important step was taken recently to give compassionate assistance to pregnant mothers. With primary financial assistance from Buddhist Global Relief in the United States, along with Sunduru Sihinaya Urumaya, another charity program has been implemented by Shraddha Charity Organization to improve nutrition of pregnant mothers on the island. A nutrition care package is given monthly for pregnant mothers and the unborn children. The charitable program was recently conducted in the Serrawilla area to provide support to expectant mothers and those with newborn children. Funds from Buddhist Global Relief regularly provide nutritional support to 15 mothers. In addition, more than 20,000 rupees is allocated to provide mothers with essential maternity items for newborns.
I'm happy raising my 4 children, but 3 weren't so lucky to get a ride in a stroller. I wasn't able to buy one. I didn't have enough money. I really wanted to get one for my kids, but with things as they are and my husband's job, there was just no way. I'm really happy that Buddhist Global Relief gave this. They should receive more and more help. Keep doing more to give things to poor people like us.
To be honest, this is like a dream for me. I would never have been able to afford these things, and to live like this, it's so difficult. I have 4 children, and I have to raise these 4 children through righteous means. Honestly, to have received food and supplies like this over the last year, it has been a huge help. If we had tried to buy these things ourselves, we would have struggled so much. To the Buddhist Global Relief Organization, who have donated these food supplies to us, they have done a huge service for me, and may they receive more and more appreciation for their efforts.
live off a three-wheel taxi driver's salary. Now, because everything is expensive, the goods we have received over these past months, it's really not possible to say how valuable they have been for us to keep surviving during this difficult time. Every month, we receive food aid worth 6,000 rupees. The children and ourselves eat the dry rations. I'm happy, you know. The Venerable Monk of Seruvilla Monastery, Shraddha Charity Organization, and Buddhist Relief, may all of them have the strength and courage to do more and more things like this. The heartfelt service they're doing is really praiseworthy.
Actually, along with my loan, my monthly income is 7,000 rupees. We have to live on 7,000 rupees. With 4 children, the food aid worth 6,000 rupees is really valuable because otherwise we have to find the money somehow. Much merit to Buddhist Global Relief for this tremendous help that they are giving us. I hope that they have the strength and courage to do more and more things like this.
I hope that you all enjoyed that short glimpse of how some of the funds that we are raising are being used. We thank you very much for joining us today. Now we will be moving on to our next speaker, which will be our own Venerable Jin Chuan. Bhikshu Jin Chuan is an Asian American Buddhist monk who grew up in the Silicon Valley. After graduating from Stanford University, he went to the City of 10,000 Buddhas, where he currently serves as chaplain and assistant professor with the Dharma Realm Buddhist University. Venerable Jin Chuan is also a member of the BGR board. Venerable Jin Chuan will now lead us in 3 steps and a bow.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. For other parts of the world, good evening or good morning. It's definitely an honor to be here with everyone for an event to, you could say, really make a difference in many people's lives. I'm share a brief story just to start. I'm a very recent member to the BGR board and have an opportunity to be onboarded by one of the staff of BGR. And I was deeply moved by her firsthand account of going to villages and seeing people malnourished and hungry, and then finding the funds to support them, giving them food to eat, and education on how to raise crops, support themselves, and then going back 2 to 3 years later and finding the whole village completely transformed. And she says, and they move on to another village. And honestly, for me, I'm living a very sheltered life. I haven't really, you could say, seen much in the way of you could say, extreme hunger. But from the little bit of, sometimes discomfort I experience, which is not very much, I can, you could say, empathize and see, wow, there's a lot of very good and important work being done by BGR. And what I wanted to share with everyone is a practice very rooted in our tradition called 3 steps, 1 bow. And there's many aspects to this practice. And I think maybe just one part of it that might be meaningful to share is that I'm sure everyone ate today. And clearly we were fed by somebody. But if we look a little bit deeper, I would say there's something else that has fed us. It's just this planet. And every day this planet sustains us. And sometimes, I say myself, sometimes I forget. I just go through my day eating my full, and don't really acknowledge the kindness that I'm shown by the planet that we live on. And so I think maybe one way of thinking about this practice, 3 steps and a bow, is bowing down, touching the ground, and showing our gratitude and care for this planet. And also really acknowledging the care that we've received from this planet. And I think it's from that care that this work from Buddhist Global Relief extends out to nurture many, many people. And from the way that Buddhist Global Relief does its work, also supports and protects the environment so that this planet can continue on for generations to come. So the practice is very simple. If you would like to join us, you're welcome to. It's essentially 3 steps and a bow. So actually, if you have space wherever you are, you can just find a place. You can walk in place if you like. If you don't have the space to bow all the way to the floor, you can just do a half bow. Or just on your chair, you can just bow from your chair as well. It's completely up to you how you would like to do that. So I invite everyone to maybe stand up or just get yourself settled to actually bow. So we'll do that here and where we're at in the, you can say, Redwood Vihara and Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. We have 2 monasteries that we frequent. And so this one's out in the Redwood Forest. So it's a small place where we'll actually bow inside and outside around the back. So we'll be outdoors as well. Okay, so we'll just bow for a few minutes, but people are welcome to bow more. Maybe we can view the TVs. That's how we've been watching everyone.
Yeah, leave the camera.
Yeah. Sorry. Learning all the technical stuff here. So I'll hit the bell, and when you hear the bell, you can bow down. You hear the bell come up. It's up to you, whatever, however speed you would like to do it, but I'm just giving a suggestion. So we're very happy to be with everyone. Just want to offer that it's a simple practice that we do every day at the monastery. Wishing everyone can have a chance to touch the earth, touch the care that we've all received, maybe share that with others that we care about around us, but also through Buddhist global relief, there's many beings. I don't know what the numbers would be, but potentially could be millions that it touches through its last decade of existence. Okay, so wish everyone well, and know who's next on the program.
Thank you very much, Venerable Chuan. I don't know about the rest of you, but the older I get, the more I appreciate interludes like that. And I realize the importance of making the practice not just something in the head, but also the body needs to join in too. It's helpful and meaningful. Thank you. Well, the next item on our list is another delightful interlude for us. Many of you may know Reverend Hung Sher, the managing director of Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. He's also a gifted musician. He has shared a song with us about Sunita, one of the Buddha's disciples. And Kim, I believe, will be showing this video now for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Let me go ahead and share the screen.
Good morning. This is Hung Sher, coming to you from the Gold Coast of Queensland, Australia, with a song for the National Buddhist Global Relief Action to Feed the Hungry. I'm honored to be here as one of the founding Sangha advisors to Buddhist Global Relief to contribute this song for this action to raise awareness of global hunger and hunger right next door. This is the story of Sunita, which comes from a collection of autobiographical poems, possibly one of the oldest layers of biographical poetry in the world, written among the Buddha's senior disciples, known as the Theragatha, the songs of the elder Buddhist monks. Sunita was an outcast. He was a Chandala. He was a Harijan, a child of God, now known as a scavenger, the lowest caste. And his father disappeared when he was a child. He had a dysfunctional family. He was a beggar. He had to support his own life by going to pujas, going to ceremonies, and when they were done, he would pick up the broken flowers and any leftover food, sell what he could, and throw the rest away. But he had one redeeming practice that carried him through, which was he made ritual prostrations. He bowed. And he bowed to his future awakening. He didn't know he was going to meet the Buddha, but when he did, his life changed. I was born poor in a lowly family. Father disappeared. There was little to eat. My work was degrading. I gathered withered flowers from the shrines. I sold what I could and threw the rest away. People found me disgusting and they despised me. They just ignored me or they looked away. The pain of rejection hurt as much as the hunger, but I lowered my heart and I bowed every day. Then I saw the great hero entering the city, the greatly awakened one with his monks in line. The most supreme of the Magadhans, walking like a lotus, pure and refined. Now, being an outcast, for Sunita to draw near the Buddha, who was a Kshatriya, the warrior, the ruler class. If the shadow of an outcast touches the body of a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, the legend says they can never wash it clean. And the upper caste person is within his rights to beat him, kick him to the curb, or do him physical harm. Sunita, because of his practice of bowing, sees the Buddha and takes his chance. I lost all fear. I set down my pole and baskets. I drew near and I wanted to bow. And then he, the conqueror of Mara, stopped the line. He stood still out of kindness just for me. After showing reverence at the feet of the teacher, I stood to one side and I said these words. O great sage, supreme among all beings, may I take refuge and leave home with you. The compassionate teacher raised one hand in a blessing with the sound of kindness for all the world. He said, "Come, monk." That was my ordination. I left home and my new life began. Now, if this were a movie, the scene would show a lonely hut high in the mountains and Sunita cultivating as a hermit, following the Buddha's instructions out in the wilderness. Now I live alone here in the mountains. I never tire. I cultivate the way, following my teacher's words, just as he taught me. With one mind, by night and by day. As the sun went down, I entered Samadhi. I saw my past lives. I opened my heavenly eye. Just before dawn, I broke through the mass of darkness. To the state of the deathless, I did certify. Oh, the night was ending, and the sun was returning. Indra and Brahma paid their respects to me. With the palms together, shining light, the way gods do with eloquence, they said these words to me. One of the beautiful ironies of Sunita's verse is, here are Indra and Brahma, chief among gods, higher even than the human Brahmins. And what do? They want to celebrate Sunita's accomplishment, never mind his worldly caste. What do the chief among gods say? Homage to you, thoroughbred of humans. Homage to you, human supreme. Your afflictions have ended, all your suffering is over. You, dear sir, are worthy of offerings. Now, the penultimate verse of Sunita's biographical poem brings the Buddha back into the scene, and there's some ironic social commentary here as the Buddha claims Sunita a true Brahmin, not by birth, not by parentage, not by social status, but by inner virtue, by wisdom and compassion. Upon seeing me venerated by the Devas, the teacher smiled and he proclaimed, through austerity, celibacy, restraint, and self-control. He became a Brahmin. Sunita is a Brahmin supreme. The story of Sunita.
Thank you so much, Reverend Hangshur. This song doesn't sound so very foreign to me anymore. Once I realized I'm living in a situation and in a world where I walk past homeless people all the time in my city, here in the United States. One of them might be like Sunita. So now we will hear from Patty Price. Patty, before joining the BGR board, she had a career in nonprofit organizations, which included several years with international human development organizations. For several years, she assisted 2 quasi-governmental development agencies in Kingston, Jamaica, and later spent 11 years with CARE, traveling throughout Africa, the Caribbean, and South America. This led to her advocacy for access to education, healthcare, and skills development for women and girls. She had the opportunity to go to Africa recently to see one of our projects with Helen Keller International up close. Kim will be putting up her slide presentation, and Patty will be narrating for us. And I know that you will enjoy seeing this work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Kim, do we have the slides? And I found one of my Buddhist Global Relief walk buttons, so I'm wearing that in honor of walks that we have been on in the past, since this is our sit-down equivalent to the walk, and 3 steps and a bow, which was very nice. Thank you. So yeah, Buddhist Global Relief first gave a grant to Helen Keller International in 2016, and it was for a long-term multi-community women's and children's nutrition and health project. We can move to the next slide. So we had gotten very good reports from Helen Keller over the years about this, and we agreed that we were going to give them another grant to carry this out in another community in the Corhogo district, which is where the Helen Keller Nutrition Project is centered. And the Ivory Coast, of course, is what we call it. They're back to calling it Côte d'Ivoire. It had been a French colony, not necessarily a very pleasant place at the time. And then in about not even 10 years ago, there was a civil war, which pretty much cut off the already very poor northern region. And food insecurity rose tremendously. Villages, the men were gone from the villages, and malnutrition took over in the north region. Next slide, please. I'll do this. So that first grant, a 3-year grant that we gave, as I mentioned, it did very well. The project is intended to eventually reach a total of 60 very poor communities. Next slide. And those 60 communities equal a total beneficiary goal of 60,000 individuals, 20,500 children under age 5, 37,000 women and girls 5 and older, roughly 2,000 boys 5 to 18, and 500 men over 18. Kim? And of course, the reason for the low number of men is that once men are and teenage boys are of working age, they leave the villages to find employment in other areas, ostensibly to send money back. And that is not always the case. That once they're gone, they're often gone. The males in the villages tend to be small children and older men. So we invited them, as I mentioned, for a second 3-year grant that was going to run from 2019 to 2021. And Helen Keller's Dan Fiedler, who was centered in New York and we'd gotten to know personally, he and I were given the opportunity to go and visit the project we had previously funded and to attend the launch of the project proposed for the next 3-year grant, a community called Neofoin. Both of these are in the far north region. So Dan and I flew to Cote d'Ivoire. Actually, we met up there. So the malnutrition in Neofoin region of the Korhogo district, this chart, the upper chart, that the red means severely malnourished. The orange is serious, the yellow is moderate. Green means at risk. Light blue is moderately healthy. Dark blue, which shows up in the lower chart, means healthy. The top chart is where the situation was at the time I was there. And we're talking April 2019. The lower chart is the goal. Kim? At this launch, there were probably 150 women, most with infants, many with toddlers, some who had infants and toddlers with them. Kim? We can move the slides a little quicker. I do want to introduce you to Madam Coulibaly. She is one of the secrets to the success of this program by working closely with Helen Keller and coordinating with the Ministry of Health. Madam Coulibaly speaks multiple tribal languages, which is something that most educated individuals in Cote d'Ivoire do not speak all of the tribal languages, whereas she does, based on her 25 years with the Red Cross in the northern region. Next. So she came along with us every day, not just as interpreter, but introducing the program. This is Neofoin at the launch of the nutrition program, Maternal Child Health and Nutrition. Each community where Helen Keller is doing this, the Ministry of Health provides a health professional. It's usually a nurse or a midwife in residence in the community. And then there are medical doctors in the region who are also Ministry of Health medical doctors. There were 2 medical doctors with us on this particular day because they wanted to continue reassessing the health or lack of in the community. Next. This is one of the Ministry of Health doctors. As you can see, the traditional third world method of determining a child's degree of malnutrition is to measure their upper arm. There was no surprise that the majority of the children in this community were severely malnourished, as was their mothers. Kim, you can move to the next slide. And I think we all realize that a malnourished mother has a difficult time nursing, and that compounds the situation with the small children, especially infants who can't be fed regular food yet, but whose mothers can't provide nutrition to them is the double whammy. This is the little hospital in that town. It's 2 rooms. This is one of them. It doubles as the maternity ward. There are 3 frame beds there. Only 2 of them have mattresses. And I can assure you, they were not mattresses I would have even wanted to sit on. So what we did do when I got back and we were voting as a board on this project, we tossed in a few extra dollars for new mattresses and some pieces of medical equipment that the doctor for that region had written us a letter asking if we could provide a few additional things. For example, they did not have a maternity stethoscope. So when you're in a region where there are 400 babies being born in this place per year, you ought to have decent mattresses and maybe a maternity stethoscope. Next. So the essential nutrition demonstration, each of the villages where this project is being carried out, the women are taught not just about the normal gruel or porridge that is in each community, but how to make it in a sanitary fashion, the importance of boiling the water. Nobody has clean spigot water here. So the importance of boiling the water and how to enrich that basic porridge. Madam Coulibaly identifies 2 or 3 women in each community who are clearly respected female leaders in the town. She takes them for a walk around the outskirts of the village, and she points out weeds, what we would think of as weeds, that are actually edible when cooked and will add nutrients to the porridge. So part of the education or in these poor communities, often that don't have successful community gardens, is how you can make use of items within reach that you never realized were available to you to enrich the porridge. And then the suggestion of other products that could be added to the porridge. And of course, all of these items to add to the porridge for the day, the big day, when every child and mother there was going to be fed this nutrient enriched. Next. Kim? Kim?
Yes, the next slide, Patty.
Hello?
We're on the next slide now, Patty.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll have to keep the slides. All right, we'll have to move a little faster. So here's the children in the upper left learning the importance of hand washing. And this is, everybody brings a bowl or dish of their own, and the nurse is helping to dish out the food and distribute it. There's much ado about this. As you can see in the lower left, this tiny little infant. Mother is excited to be trying to get this child to eat some of the porridge. Next. This is the well in the community, the one and only well. There's several thousand people here in this town. They're not all visible at the moment. It's dry season. The water table was really, really low. We were in the community for 5 hours. These girls and 1 or 2 others took turns lowering a rope that was easily 30 feet long down that well and pulling it back up by hand. There's no rotary, nothing, no. A girl had a full basin, she'd put it on her head and walk away, and the next girl would start with the water. And this just goes on and on and on. Kim, next slide, please. And that water, of course, has to be heavily boiled. This is a borehole. This is a well that is much easier to use, and an example of what the Helen Keller Project is providing in community drilling boreholes. This happens to be in a community a couple hours from Nilefoyne, where there's a village, a very successful village garden project, and this well is located there. But I bring up the concept of water as being important to nutrition we all know about that from our first world lives. But the lack of water also requires hours of daily labor carting the buckets. This falls to the children, and therefore it impacts their ability to go to school. The weight of the buckets is extraordinarily heavy, has been proven to stunt children's growth. It affects their skeletal development. And the travel to distant waters, common practice for girls to go in groups. And someone is trying to accost them. Next slide, please, Kim. I wanted to share the story of Zia and Zahana. We were a little upset during this wonderful launch going on. Maybe a half hour or more into the launch, a very frail looking man is walking up the hill to where everyone's seated in this giant circle, looking very apprehensive. He's carrying the little child who I thought was an infant and holding the hand of the little boy who was weeping, but was very silent and very fearful. Their brothers, they're severely malnourished. Their father is unable to leave home, bedridden with the sickness, which actually has led to the village shunning this family. But the father was not well either. Kim, the next slide. The beauty of having the Ministry of Health team there and a nurse and doctors on site was that they were immediately approached and invited into the health center building where the children were assessed. Discussion went on with the father, and we learned that they're years old. This was confirmed by some of the women in the village who Madam Coulibaly spoke with about the family. It was recommended by the Ministry of Health that the father give them permission to take Z to the hospital and that they would bring him back when he was sufficiently nourished. And the father broke down in tears, but agreed to do that. Ever since that day in 2019, I think of these children and I wonder whatever became of them. And I sent an email to Dan and asked him if he would be willing to reach out to Dr. Bamba, Ibrahim Bamba, the country director in Cote d'Ivoire, to see if he could reach the two young men who run this program in the villages in Korhogo to find out what's the situation with Z and Zahana. And I got an email back. Next slide, please. I was afraid Z was not going to survive, but he did. This is Z and Zahana. They're almost 5, or they're 5 years old now. Their mother did pass away in 2019, and their father last year. So they're now living with an uncle who's a farmer, not inside a community that is a Helen Keller program recipient, but he and his wife, because there are now 5 children in the household and he is a poor farmer, there is an organization in their region that is providing monthly nutrition assistance to this family. The boys will be going to school once the schools reopen. So there was the sadness of them not having their parents, but these boys are clearly significantly healthier because of this intervention, and they are living with a relative who is getting some assistance. So my concern about Z and Zahana has been met with, and the Helen Keller team knew which village they were at, had been placed at, so they drove there and interviewed the uncle and took pictures of the kids, even though these children no longer fall under a Helen Keller program, which to me is just one more example of how fantastic this organization is, that they would take the time to go and report back to us because they value us as much as we value them as a partner. And I think we're about done, Kim. Should be another slide. Maybe this is the team. You can probably pick me out. The gentleman in the middle with the tan pants and the gray shirt is Dr. Ibrahim Bamba, who is been with Helen Keller for several years. He is a native of Cote d'Ivoire, but had been the country office director for some of the surrounding countries, and was delighted to, just a few months before we were there, he was returned to his home nation with his family to become the country office director for Helen Keller there. The doctors and the gentleman on either side, one to my left and the one to Dan's right, they are the 2 young men, college educated, who are the Helen Keller program directors in this Northeast Korhogo region. And they know the community so well. They were just a wealth of information, even though 90% of it had to come through translators. But we had just fairly wonderful experiences. And then we did, on our last day before heading back to Abidjan to catch a plane, we did go with Madame Coulibaly to her child nutrition program in Abidjan that she personally runs and operates, a 7-day-a-week child nutrition center. So we got a little extra side trip as a result of that. And that's my update on our projects with our very, very trusted partner, Helen Keller International. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty. We really do have some fantastic partner organizations. We're really fortunate in that. We do have now with us someone we were hoping to have join us. Venerable Carmelek Chitsomo is a professor of Buddhist studies at the University of San Diego. She's founder and past president of the Sakyadhita International Association of Buddhist Women. And she is also founder and director of Jamyang Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting education for girls and women in developing countries, and one of our partner organizations like Helen Keller International. So we are very happy to have Carmelek with us, and we will hear from her now. Carmelek, are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
I think Miss Carla.
I thought I saw her for a moment and then she disappeared.
Yes.
Is Carmelek there? If so, please let us know. Oh, dear, she might have dropped off again. She must be having internet problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm very sorry because I was so looking forward to hearing from her. Jamyang is doing such wonderful work. And if you are interested, I hope that you will all go to our website and look up Jamyang Foundation to see the project that we are supporting through them. Is that Carmelek? There you are. We found you. I'm so glad you could join us today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I've been having some connectivity issues here. I hope it will be okay for me to share the screen and show you some of our projects. There we go. Yeah, it's been a busy day. Okay, so we started with Jamyang Foundation in 1987 when we noticed that there were tremendous disparities between the situation of Buddhist monks and nuns. There was an influx of refugees from Tibet at the time that's continued. It continued for the next 10 years. And the monks would be issued with a full set of robes and sent down to South India by train with all food and education provided. But for the nuns, there was nothing. And we found many of them living in cardboard boxes along the side of the road, severely malnourished, with no one to turn to. So we started a conversation and tried to help them out. So I'll show you a few slides just to give you an idea. So our work started in India, in the Indian Himalayas, and later spread to Bangladesh, Vietnam, Nepal, Mongolia, and so forth. So of course, we know Buddhism began with Mother Maya, a woman, right? Without women, we would have no Buddha Shakyamuni, right? So we're very grateful. And the Buddha's own stepmother, after his mother passed away, she started the order of Buddhist nuns. And we're very grateful to her. We know that women were allowed to attend the teachings of the Buddha. Many of them practiced very well. Many of them achieved the goal of nirvana, became arhats.
We seem to be having connectivity issues again with Carmelek. So let's be patient and see if we can get her back. I'm afraid we have lost Karmalakshi, and I was so looking forward to hearing from her, but I'm afraid we're going to have to move on. So it's unfortunate. I'm really sorry about this. But since her internet connection is just not working for us. Ah, there you are. Oh. Okay, we lost you for a while. Karmalakshi, are you there? I'm really afraid that we're going to have to move on. Okay. So Karmalakshi, we appreciate your presence very much, and we hope that next time we can hear more from you. But evidently the internet connection is just not functioning adequately today. So I hope you will understand if we move on to our next speaker, who will be Kiyonobu Kuwahara Sensei. He came to the US in October 2003 from Hiroshima in Japan. He has been the supervising minister of Berkeley Buddhist Temple since 2018 and the Buddhist Temple of Marin since January of this year. Reverend Kuwahara will now lead us in a chant. We welcome Reverend Kuwahara.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Is it okay? Okay, I hope you can hear me. Yeah.
Yes, we can, but you might make your microphone a little louder.
Okay, got it.
There we go. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Venerable Bhikku Bodhi, and then all Buddhist Global Relief staff, and then Buddhist leaders and the audience today from different places of the world. My name is Kiyonobu Kuwahara. I'm serving Berkeley Buddhist Temple and then also Marin Buddhist Temple in California and the Bay Area. So our temple, Berkeley Buddhist Temple, has been supporting the Feed the Hunger for years. And of course, our Sangha members were inspired by the ideas and activities of the Buddhist Global Relief. ありがとうございます。So as a Buddhist priest serving this temple in Berkeley, I've been always thinking, so as a Buddhist, what can we do? What can we make a contribution for the betterment or the change of the world? And what is a unique, like a solution, right? Input to the community, to the world. I think Buddhism talks about wisdom and compassion. And wisdom, compassion are the essence of our teaching, Dharma, right? And then especially I think wisdom is very, very important. Our tradition, our main object of our worship is Amida Buddha. And then Amida Buddha is symbolized with light of wisdom, right? And then the light breaks the darkness. Darkness of what? Our ignorance, right? Buddha's wisdom disperses the darkness of our ignorance. So maybe we are ignorant of people suffering from hunger, poverty. So when our ignorance is removed and see others suffering more clearly, and I'm sure the way we can see things, the way we think, the way we behave will be changed. So to truly encounter Buddha's wisdom is a true essence of our compassionate actions. That's how we take actions of compassion. So I hope more people in the world, or each of us, will be awakened by Buddha's light or Dharma and take compassionate actions. And I believe that's how we Buddhists can change the world. We can improve this society, community. So today, I would like to share a short chanting, which originally I wanted to send a file to you, but I have some technical difficulties sending this file on chat. So I'm just sharing the screen, the passage on the screen right now. So today I'm going to chant this short chanting and then wishing that we all reaffirm our resolution as a Buddhist to relieve people's suffering, hunger, with three treasures. So let me start chanting. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for letting us join you in the chant. I find those very meaningful, and I enjoy going to the temple, Seattle Betswin Temple, which you may know them. Wonderful people, wonderful. I really enjoyed their service, so thank you so much. Now we are going to have some words from Abbot Hozan Alansanaoki. Reverend Hozan is the abbot of Berkeley Zen Center and the founder of Clearview Project, which provides Buddhist-based training and relief to communities in need across Asia and the US. Hozan also serves on the advisory board of the International Network of Engaged Buddhists. He will offer a reflection on the Dhamma, and we hope that we have Karma Lekshi back, and after that, we hope to hear back from her again. So we aren't done yet, people. We have lots to come. Hozan?
Thank you. I'm honored to be here with venerable monks and nuns and good Sangha friends. This is one of my Sanghas. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've lived here at Berkeley Zen Center for 37 years. And so that's one root is really here in this place. And one of the things that we've done at Berkeley Zen Center, aside from having a pretty vigorous daily practice, is for 25 years, we've been feeding the homeless. We've been going to the homeless shelters several times a month and preparing and cooking with help from the people who live in these shelters, preparing a joyous meal for them. And during the pandemic, we have been going out in the streets every 2 weeks with a whole bunch of sandwiches and actually bags of food, and just passing them out, going out to the numerous enclaves of homeless people that have taken shape in Berkeley. I mean, if you haven't been here, it's hard to imagine. But there are many, many homeless people, and they are hungry, and they need whatever we can give them. So our Sangha has been involved in this, and I'm very pleased about that. In another realm, for more than 30 years, I've been involved with Buddhists and other communities in need around the world. And I feel we're doing parallel work through Clearview Project to what Buddhist Global Relief is doing on a somewhat smaller scale. But my focus has been narrow because the organization is more limited. It's mostly me and good friends around the world, partners in India, partners in Thailand, partners in Myanmar. And so we have been, particularly during the pandemic, supplying food, medicine, clothing to people in the COVID emergencies in India, and also since the coup in Myanmar, to people who have been without jobs, who've been facing repression, and we've been very effective. We work through, as BGR does, we work through partners that we know and trust, and partners who are completely responsive and accountable. And so I'm happy to participate in these walks and to bring my Sangha along. So my time is short, but I wanted to sing you a song. And this is a song about feeding the hungry ghosts. Certainly in all of the Buddhist traditions, there are stories and visions of the various realms, the hell realms, the hungry ghost realms, the realms that are not as fortunate as maybe some of our realms are. And in the Japanese Buddhist tradition, there's a ceremony of feeding the hungry ghosts, recognizing that at moments all of us are hungry ghosts, and we all have hungry ghosts within us, and we know them, we see them around. So I wanted to sing you a song, and I'm going to show you the lyrics. I'll sing it through twice. It's quite short. Calling out to hungry hearts. to hungry hearts everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this Bodhi mind, calling out to hungry spirits everywhere through endless time, calling out to hungry hearts, all the lost and left behind. Gather round and share this meal, your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine. Try to sing this with me. Calling out to hungry hearts everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this Bodhi mind, calling out to hungry spirits everywhere through endless time, calling out to hungry hearts, all the lost and the left behind. Gather round and share this meal, your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine. Your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine.
Thank you so much, Hosan. That was
Thank you.
so meaningful. It's one of those ones you want to hear again and again. Thank you. Very, very precious song. Okay. We are very fortunate that Carmelexi's back, and I am so glad that she is, because I was so much enjoying the reminders of the power and presence of the feminine in Buddhism. So we will try to get Carmelexi Somo on again now. Yvonne, can you help us with that?
I think Miss Carla, I think the internet problem arised again. So Venerable is not. Oh, let me try one more time.
Okay, yeah, we'll give it a try. It seems to me that her connection is coming and going quite frequently, so I don't know what the problem is with that one.
That's correct. Yes.
Because now
She's back now.
Okay, great. We would love to hear from you, Carmelexi.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yes, we see you now. I was so enjoying your presentation, so I do hope you can share more with us before it falls down again, your connection.
Wonderful. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Okay, great. So we'll try to pick up where we left off. I don't know why it's cutting out. Oh dear.
Yvonne, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, because Carmelexi seems to be having a problem.
I think, yeah, there we go.
Okay. Is it working?
We are not seeing your videos, your slides.
Okay. You cannot see?
Okay, we have some Zoom thing in front of you. Yeah, you need to get rid of that, I think.
Okay, let's see if this will work.
Yeah. Got your slideshow. I can see it behind the Zoom window.
Okay, and let's see.
There we go. Now you can do your slideshow.
Okay.
There.
Is it
Okay,
good?
great.
Okay, great. So these are some of our little students. So we set about from 1987 trying to provide educational opportunities for women in developing countries. And we started up in the Himalayas.
Karma-Alexia, your audio is gone again. I think this is just really unfortunate. We're just going to have to move on. So I'm really sorry. I was really hoping to hear more about Karma-Alexia's project because it really is beautiful. But it's just, you know, we lost her audio and the video froze. So I don't really know what to say. But we do have a certain, oh, you're back.
I'm back. Let's try one last time.
Okay, great.
It may work. Okay, did it work? Are you there?
Yes, we're listening. Okay, great. We've got your kiddos on. Aren't they adorable?
Over. We have 12 monasteries in India, and we've started a number of schools in Bangladesh. And these are the projects that Buddhist Global Relief is helping with. And it's been a really difficult time the last year and a half. These remote areas, I mean, food is scarce in the best of times. Water is scarce in the best of times. And now it's been really, really difficult. Thankfully, Buddhist Global Relief has been providing school lunches for our students. I don't know why the slides aren't moving, but anyway, I have pictures of the projects in Bangladesh, but I can't get the slides to move. So in any case, with school lunches, it really made a huge difference because when the students first came, they were so skinny, they were so malnourished, they looked so miserable, and they couldn't study because they couldn't pay attention because they were hungry and their parents had no food at home. So we finally, luckily, because of BGR, we were able to provide lunches for the 121 girls in 5 grades plus pre-K. And now they're all so happy. They're playing around. I wish I could show you the slides, and I don't know why it's not working, but okay, I'm going to try one more time. But just to say that the project's going really, really well, and the students also happy, and they're okay. It's just not working. Okay. And we hope to continue this year. BGR has donated another classroom, which will take the girls up to 6th grade. Now, if they can finish 6th grade, and the more the better, we can try to get them into schools in the village. Normally, we've been sending them for private study up until they're ready for junior high school and try to find places for them to stay in the village. Some of them have already gotten jobs. And we also provide scholarships for young women, they're lay women who are doing Buddhist studies at Chittagong University. So we've had more than 20 scholarship students. And this year we were very happy to be able to donate laptops to 14 of them because classes have been suspended at the university. And so this provided the students with a way to continue learning despite the shutdown, the lockdown. And the Bangladeshi government is really strict about it. So at the school, the girls are coming every other day, a little bit unofficially, but so far so good. And we haven't had any cases of COVID. And the teachers are teaching, each day half of those students. And so the projects, the education will continue. We don't want them to fall behind. As we know from the US experience, losing a year or much less 2 years of education is going to put them back and they'll be educationally disadvantaged and maybe get discouraged and give up. But fortunately, we hope that they will be able to continue. So we have all of these projects going well, and the consequences are really significant. The perception of what women are able to do, what girls can accomplish, has changed completely throughout the Himalayan region. Before, women just simply weren't on the agenda at all. It was assumed that women were stupid, they were not capable. the Buddha didn't like them because he didn't let them into the Sangha. These preconceptions, these misconceptions abound. And what the education projects have done is to completely cut through those misconceptions. In many places, like in India, very few young men are becoming monks. I mean, very few. But there are many young girls and young women who are still becoming nuns. And so the whole demographic is changing. Before, nuns were never invited to do funerals, for example. But now the nuns are really treasured because they can do all the rituals and they chant with such sincerity with their whole hearts. And so the villagers don't need to call a monk from 2 hours away. Just in the last 10 years, things have changed dramatically. So this is a real breakthrough for women, and they've really stepped up. So we're very proud of them. In Bangladesh, of course, the cultural situation is quite different. It's a majority Muslim country, and the Buddhists are less than 1% of the population. There was a 25-year civil war, and there are still many, many problems, poverty being the greatest problem. So if we had the resources, we could start 100 schools in Bangladesh, but we've started 4 and doing our best, right? It's not easy for many reasons: government restrictions, corruption, internal conflicts, and not to mention misunderstandings on the basis of religion and culture. So, but I think that all together, I'm very inspired by the presentations of all of our kind presenters today. And in this way, we encourage one another. People think that Buddhists don't care about society, that we're just up in the mountains, meditating, but it's always been the case that the Buddhists were there to help people from the very beginning. Even though they didn't advertise, hang up shingles, signs to advertise their good deeds. But from the very beginning, the monasteries, the temples were the education centers, they were the clinics, they were the counseling centers, they performed so many services for the lay people. They were the community centers. And so I think that what's happening today is really a sort of a reset of what the Buddhists have been doing all along, but with the kind encouragement and the funding, because a lot of it depends on resources. And it makes a big difference, as I mentioned, with the little girls. If they're hungry, it's really hard for them to study and move forward, and then they become vulnerable to sex trafficking and all kinds of ills. They get forced into marriages and all of this. And so it's really been life-changing for the girls and the nuns in these projects. I really wish all of you well, and I hope that together we can all continue to help make changes, not only for girls. My own particular interest is, following the maxim that educating a girl educates the whole nation. I've been very encouraged to see the results of the projects and working together with these very lovely people. Of course, reviving Buddhism in these areas is very important too. That when Buddhism is a minority religion, they're often on the defensive, meaning that they have to be very careful in everything that they do for fear of criticism and so on. So they often more or less hide their qualities. But what's happening now with education is that the women are really setting an example. And I think that this will increase in the coming years, hoping that we get through this pandemic. Then the women will really be in a position to step up and to make changes from the inside. Global statistics show that women are less vulnerable to corruption, for example, and corruption is one of the greatest hindrances to justice in these countries, economic justice, gender justice, as well as social justice in all aspects. So I really thank all of you and encourage all of you, and particularly I'm grateful to BGR for all the help that you've given to our projects. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry about the technology.
Oh, thank you so much, Carmel. Actually, thank you for persevering and trying again, because just seeing the faces of those healthy little girls and just the thought of them not even having enough food to eat so they could study just breaks my heart. And I'm so glad that we are able to help Jamyang help them. We will now hear from Bhikku Bodhi. So we'll be moving along in our program. And thank you so much, all of you, for participating. So Kim, let's move on to Bhikku Bodhi. Carmelex, you need to stop your share screen and we need to show Bhikku Bodhi, please. Bhante, I think you're muted.
Do you hear me?
Not very well. Could you make it a little louder, please?
Okay, now you should hear me.
Thank you. That's better.
Okay, that's because I put the microphone up. Okay, so again, I want to thank all of the speakers and everybody who's participated in this program today and all of the viewers. And I'm very delighted that we finally got Venerable Karma Lexi Tsomo. We first met up in Dharamsala in McLeod Gunj back in 1987. I had gone there for some reason, and then we met and we had a few good meetings. And then I'm glad that now that she's formed her organization, the Jamyang Foundation, we've formed Buddhist Global Relief. And so we've been able to connect again. Yeah, so I want to speak a little bit. How did we come to focus the work of Buddhist Global Relief on the problem of hunger and malnutrition? And here I make a little confession, which I've made on several occasions when we've had these group gatherings. And it actually arose from my own personal experience during my first year in Sri Lanka, year and a half in Sri Lanka. At the time that I arrived in Sri Lanka, the country was going through, the government was imposing some rather radical economic experiments on the country. And as a result, when they were trying to become self-sufficient with regard to food, to stop imports of food. And as a result of that, some parts of the country, the poorer parts of the country, was suffering from severe food shortages. And among them was the particular part of the country where I was ordained and living during my first 2 years as a monk. And so the area was quite poor to begin with. The food supply was very meager. And so the food served at the temple where I was living was very inadequate, very unsatisfactory. And when in America here, when we speak about hunger and we say, I'm hungry, we usually say this when we miss 1 or 2 meals. We say, I'm starving. But what I experienced was not so much the feeling of hunger when your stomach is empty, because what we were served every day was mostly red country rice, which is quite nutritious in itself, but then just watery dal, that's lentils, and a watery green vegetable. And for breakfast, we just had a kind of watery rice gruel with sometimes, for a special treat, one of these little South Asian bananas, sometimes some cream crackers. For lunch, the red rice, which is nutritious, but the watery dal, watery green vegetables. I was vegetarian, so I didn't eat any of the fish that was served. And then following the Theravada monastic rule, after lunch, no food at all till the next day. So this goes on. After a week, you start to feel persistently hungry. After a month, more and more hungry, even after you've had a satisfying lunch. And then by 3 o'clock, the food that you've had for lunch is fully digested, and you start thinking about the breakfast the next day. And this goes on now from month to month till we're up to 6 months, 8 months, subsisting on a diet like that. And it reached a point, and I say this honestly, where I would look at my sandals in the corner of the little cottage where I was living and wondering, are they edible or not? Fortunately, things changed in my 3rd year at the temple where I was living. Then I started to learn how to go on alms round, traveling to the different hamlets around the temple. Then I was able to collect enough food to share with the other young monks at the temple. So this gave me a firsthand experience of what real hunger is like. The hunger that you feel actually in your body, you feel these cells of the body sort of crying out, we need nutrients, we need vitamins, we need minerals. And it's really quite an oppressive feeling. And so when we were establishing Buddhist Global Relief, then I thought about people all around the world who are living under those conditions on a more or less permanent basis. And when you're suffering from hunger like that, the mind becomes fully obsessed with the idea of eating, of getting food. And when any other task comes around, in my case, study, meditation, all of this is done with lack of energy. And for students around the world, young kids, young people around the world, if they're suffering from hunger, unable to study, unable to work, all they'll be thinking about is food. They'll be just living for the next meal. So when I reflect on my own experience, then I get this feeling of, I call this not so much compassion, but a sense of solidarity with people around the world who are facing hunger and malnutrition on an everyday basis. And also what I consider is the way chronic hunger and malnutrition has a double impact amongst others on a person. First of all, it prevents the person from realizing and unfolding their full human potential. When we think about all of these poor kids in the African countries that we're helping, Haiti, South Asian countries, those kids, if they had adequate nutrition, the opportunity to go to school, they could become scientists, mathematicians, medical doctors, innovators in business, engineers. So much talent is there. And yet all of that talent is going to waste unrealized because of lack of sufficient food. So that is one impact of the lack of hunger. The other impact of lack of food, being subject to chronic hunger, is a more subjective effect of that condition. And that is the loss of personal dignity, the sense that the feeling that in the eyes of your society, the eyes of your country, the eyes of the world, you are so worthless that that there's not even an obligation to see that you get sufficient food. And so that sense of being neglected, discarded, being disposable damages, injures a person's innate desire, a very deep, fundamental desire to be able to esteem themselves, to prize themselves, to see themselves as valuable in the eyes of others, and thereby valuable in their own eyes. And so when we give food, we're not only satisfying the needs of the body, helping these children and even adults live healthy and physically productive lives. We're helping them to unfold their potentials, to be able to contribute to their communities, their societies, their nations, and perhaps even to the world. And we're also helping to restore to them, or let's say, not to restore to them, but to affirm to them their own inherent dignity. We are saying to them, even though you might be living thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, though we've never actually met face to face, we see you, we understand you, we recognize you, we respect you, and we want you to live a life by which you can affirm yourself, by which you can recognize that you are a true human being of inherent dignity. And in that way, your life will be fulfilling and meaningful to yourself. So when we reflect in that way, I think we can rejoice in all of the little contributions that we might be making to the work of Buddhist Global Relief, whether through donations, whether through volunteering, or through becoming members of our staff, board, and team. For thousands of people around the world, we are helping them to live healthy lives, to live fulfilling and meaningful lives by which they can contribute to their societies. And we are affirming, applauding, and celebrating their own intrinsic human dignity. So on all of those grounds, I want to thank everybody who's contributed to the work of BGR. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhante, for those words, reminding us why we do what we do. Now, Aya Dhamadipa will offer a closing reflection before Bhikku Bodhi offers the sharing of blessings to end our day. Aya Dhamadipa. Are you muted, Aya Dhamadipa? I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
Aya Dhamadipa, I'm not hearing you. Today is really our day for technical problems, isn't it?
Technology problems.
There you go. Now we hear you. Thank you.
All right, let's try. We're doing it a little different. I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Bhante, and all of the folks who have participated here today and said something. I'm aware that we're over our time, and I'm really moved by what's been shared already. So I just want to summarize it by saying that what I've heard here today, and what I hope that you have heard here today, is that there are real, powerful, beneficial effects that we can make happen in the world, that you can actually participate in supporting by making financial contributions, by helping BGR, by helping with our partner organizations. And those effects really lift people up. They can make such a difference in the lives of the folks who are touched, thousands and thousands of people who are touched by all of these programs. And the alternative is oftentimes, if not every time, a level of suffering that most of us have never experienced or cannot imagine. The level of suffering that is caused by the sheer lack of food, the sheer lack of education, the sheer poverty in which people live. So I just want to thank each and every one of you who are here and interested enough, compassionate enough to be with us to talk about this important work that's being done. I want to thank the Venerables who shared and chanted and led us in bowing and gave their Dharma reflections and their voices to wisdom and compassion to all of us, and all of you who are here participating in any way. And a special thank you to Kim Behan and Carla and the entire staff of BGR who worked very, very hard to make it all possible for us to be here and for these projects to unfold, for the support that comes to BGR to actually show up around the world as help. So thank you all for that. And Bhante, I will give it back to you for the final blessing, please.
Okay, so I'm going just to recite a few verses of blessing for all of the participants. And again, I want especially to thank the organizers for this gathering. I know they've been working on it since I think about August, through August and September. putting in many hours of work and those tortuous online meetings to arrange the program and so forth. So let me recite some verses calling the blessing power, the anubhava of the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, to confer the blessings of good health, long life, and safety and security upon everybody. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanganubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Dukkha pata cha nidukha bhaya pata cha nibhaya soka pata cha nisoka hantu sabepi panino. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. There we go. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So that's it. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, dear
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Aya.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you, everyone.
Bhante, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you guys.
It was beautiful.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for all your hard and loving work.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Love you guys.
Thank you, Sadhu.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Aya, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you, Karmalakshi.
Yeah.
And Carla does a very good job as a hostess.
Years of training.
Or a host, yeah. MC, I should say. MC.
Yeah, MC. Yeah. Being an MK has its advantages. You'll learn to do a lot of that kind of thing.
Being a what?
An MK,
What is an MK?
missionary kid.
Oh, I see.
Thank you, Venbo Leshy.
Thank you so much. I apologize for all the difficulties. I'm so happy to be with all of you. It's very inspiring.
Oh, wonderful. Good to
Thank
see
you,
you, Venbo Leshy.
Thank you, Aya Ananda Bodhi.
Yes, thank you, Aya Ananda Bodhi, and everybody at Aloka Vihara there, the whole community. Okay, I'm going to leave now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Until next